since I laid my eyes on you, my baby. I just wanna make your dreams come true, my lady. If you low, I'll lift you up. Just let me know.
You are a goddess, and this is your life. Welcome back, beautiful goddesses, to another episode of A Goddess Life, where we remind you and we explore the depths of the fact that we are all goddesses and this is our life. And we get to divine and decide what and how we do that. And today we want to talk about something that is maybe not flashy and pretty, but is extremely necessary and relevant when the world appears to be on fire and there's a lot of chaos going on and there's a lot of difficulties. What is the best way that we can move with this with ourselves?
Yes, how can we find stillness in trying times? And how can we be our own lighthouse and place of comfort
Mm-hmm.
when everything around us is not?
Absolutely. That's a very relevant question when you look at the world stage right now and even in our own personal lives. Can we just point out the fact that you said lighthouse in there, right? How to be your own lighthouse in the midst of the shadows or the darkness of chaos. It's a powerful question. And I feel like it's one of the most relevant topics right now. We're a collective. This is the world. When something is in chaos on one side of the world, guess what? Collectively, to be deeply in tune with Gaia and the collective conscious and unconscious, we sense those shifts in energy. When something massive happens in the world, the entire collective that's inhabiting the world actually senses it, whether they know it or not. How we sense it, what we do with that, and what the best use of it, I think, is freaking relevant. We need tools. We need ways to be able to anchor ourselves in peace. It's true. So I think
Mm,
I feel like that's probably one of the most important topics that we can probably talk about here because this is the world and some of our sisters or goddesses, soul sisters and brothers as well are in turmoil. They're in places of great chaos, not because there's something wrong with them, but because that's what's happening in that geographical location or where they've landed or the things that are happening around them. So let's dive into this. What's the point of channeled spiritual guidance if it's not going to guide us to things that help us to tangibly move through these periods and areas of the great shift? It's a fascinating time to be alive. Like, I mean, fascinating, historical. This is history being made right in front of our eyes, and we're all a part of it.
mm. This will be the time our grandkids will talk about. How lucky are we to be, I don't want to call it awake, but to be so in tuned with what is happening that we actually know that this is the time. Big things are happening.
Huge things are happening. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we can see that. We can feel it. And I think everybody listening and watching really do feel it,
Hmm.
whether they are conscious of it or not. But we
Exactly.
feel it.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because I felt really guided last week to do a blog post about why your practice, your sacred practice, your spiritual practice matters more now than it ever has before. And I feel like it's directly linked into this conversation too. If we're not in our own stillness, our own presence, our own groundedness, and we begin to get swayed by the energetic shifts and uprisings and all the crazy stuff that happens, we tend to begin to not make decisions from a grounded place. I always look at it as when the world's in chaos, do you go to somebody else in chaos to figure out what to do? No, we're looking for peace. We're looking for somewhere where we can find some peace. We're looking for a way to get out of the chaos, unless you're a chaos lover and chaos does have its place. But I just feel like now is the time to anchor into a daily practice to come back into your own peace because what good are we if we're in the chaos too in the swing of it? I say that lightly and loosely on it because I also recognize there are individuals who they're meant to be in the midst of the chaos. They're part of what shifts us out of the chaos. Some people are intended to bring chaos, not because they're bringing chaos, but because they're actually illuminating what's been underneath it all. That chaos has always been there, but now it's out in front of our faces. And when something is in front of our face and is illuminated, we have a choice to make. Do we want to make our choice from a place of fear, anger, shame, separation, ungroundedness? Or do we want to settle into our presence, listen to our soul, get grounded into our body, and make the most clear decision and choice from that place? Because decisions made out of fear and decisions made out of wanting to follow or the sway of a group think, that shit's dangerous. It's
Mm.
dangerous, and people often find themselves swept up in the tides of, this side or that side. And I always find that now in the most chaotic times is actually the time to deepen your practice. It's the time to really cultivate your inner landscape because that's what allows you to follow the appropriate path for you. Anytime I feel in fear and I have to make a decision or it's rushed, that's always like red flag for me. There's a red flag. I'll feel indecisive. I'll feel deeply emotional. I'll have thoughts running on repeat. I won't feel grounded. I feel like, oh my gosh, everybody's doing this. And I'll feel pulled by the energy. Versus when I recognize those are all red flags, like, hold on. You don't need to follow them. You don't need to rush it. In fact, you're going to get a more decisive answer, a quicker answer when you're in your deepest, groundest, most anchored, peaceful presence. That's when thoughts become clear. That's when you can see the potential outcomes. That's where you can see the illusions. That's where you can sense the way that fear can kind of create this snowball momentum. Our practice right now is not ambivalent towards what's happening in the world. We're not sticking our head in the sand saying, oh, I don't want to deal with any of those things. I'm going to pretend it's not there and just la di da. That's not what it is. There are certain people on this planet who actually have soul contract missions to maintain the anchor, the energy of peace, the presence of balance, truth, and clarity in order to balance out the chaos that's happening. Like, imagine if nobody focused on that spiritual practice in the 8 billion people, we would all be swaying back and forth. Now, imagine that also, let's say all this stuff is going on and all this separation, disconnect, greed, all this stuff hidden behind it. Let's say that we all decided to put our heads in the sand and pretend it wasn't happening. That would also be a problem. There can be no balance in either of these two aspects. Soul pods and collectives understand that I'm not here to follow, like, our collectives is what I want to say. I'm not really sure how to say that. It's almost as if there's a group of soul pods, there's a group of collective souls that are literally here to channel in spiritual energy, to anchor it on this earth plane, to not be involved in the chaos, but rather to create that high frequency wave vibration that radiates out to anyone that touches them. One, it balances out the entire collective consciousness because we need that in the midst of chaos. But two, it allows us just to be able to have great discernment, great clarity, not let the chaos permeate us. So it's almost as if for this particular soul pod or collective, like, Hannah, I know that I can't engage with some of those things that are happening in the external world, not because I don't care, not because I don't have an opinion on it, not for any of those reasons, but for the simple fact of I know my greatest service to the collective during these trying times is literally to anchor my peace and shine my light out in that sense as a place of reprieve, a place of sanctuary, a place of illumination, and a place of expansion. And it doesn't mean that I'm ignoring what's going on or that I don't care. I know that's my role. If I don't do that role and I do something else, well, shit's going to be chaos. And who does that serve? It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve anybody around me. So there's like these deep knowings of things that don't necessarily make sense. Like somebody who's like, everybody stand up, we got to stand up and fight. They may perceive somebody who's not doing that as part of the problem. But that's because they fail to recognize we need a balance. If we annihilate everything that's going on the earth plane all at once, too many souls go under, and it's much more difficult to have the balance. This is why we have souls and soul groups who are here literally exuding and radiating the presence of balance. And the reminder to come back into that peace in the midst of chaos is so important because energy comes and goes, it rises and falls, illusions are breaking open. A lot is going on. And this is such a relevant conversation that honors all sides of it. Like, I'm grateful for those who are up there standing up. I truly am. I need them to be in that place. And I also know I need to be in this place over here. And our roles complement each other. I don't need to make him sit down and be peaceful. And they don't need to make me get up and rise up and be somewhere that I'm not supposed to be. The two complement each other and complement different soul pods.
Mm.
And that is about being a lighthouse, right? If I'm to radiate as a lighthouse and anchor myself in my soul's purpose, what's a lighthouse? A lighthouse is built on the rocks. It does not sit in the water where it gets swayed and pushed and pulled by the oceans and tides. What's your take on all that?
For myself, the picture of being a lighthouse was something that scared me in the
Mhm.
beginning. As so many others, I had many readings, and the word lighthouse came up very often. And I love watching lighthouse. They are so beautiful. And the thought of being something that would radiate in that capacity just scared me so much. And I grew up being one of those screaming in the streets, being active, trying to do what I thought was the right thing to do when something terrible happened, but never feeling that it was quite right.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the latter years where I've understood that my personal role in this and what is happening is try to find the stillness within so I can use my strength, which is energy and flow and
Mhm.
calmness, to center it into the earth, to do grids, to do energy work, to set intentions, to work with whomever wants to work with me, use my power in that way. So by doing that work, we don't necessarily see the results. You can feel it and you can sense it in your body, but you can't like physically see it.
Mhm.
Feel we are so many people doing or intended to do that work. And without that work, as you said, it won't be that balance that we need.
It's interesting because, being a lighthouse in and of yourself and trying to do what you think is the right thing to do, but feeling like something is off. We're all learning how to be our own lighthouse. If you think about the light within, we generate the light within each and every one of us. Therefore, technically, we're all our own lighthouses. And I keep seeing this image as you were talking about being a lighthouse and doing what's right for you is also relevant to this because there are a ton of people outside of you that want you to do what they feel is right for them. And if we're always doing what's right for somebody else, we do have that feeling of like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. We get swept away in it. And it's not necessarily what is right for us. I know that feeling too. I've had that a lot over the course of my life and learning who I am and what I truly want as I've unpacked and unfolded it through time. I just keep getting this image as you were talking and I'm having it now of one lighthouse is different than another lighthouse. A lighthouse that is on the edge of the oceans in the African continent. That lighthouse is very different and serves a very different purpose, has a different light shining from it. The structure of the lighthouse is going to be very different from one that's sitting on the tip of the Atlantic Ocean. So, these lighthouses that each of us are called to embody during this great shift, this great awakening, these chaotic times, and also these elevating times of expansion. Being your own lighthouse allows us to not only find a sacred reverence for our own way, what is right for us, the light we're to radiate, but it also gives us great reverence of the lighthouse over there on another continent who's sharing a different light with a different perception for different people who are dealing with different things. And I feel like we're all building our own lighthouse within us to generate our own light. And knowing that each of our lights are different is powerful because it allows all these lighthouses to unite together, not so that we can be the same light, but so that we can support each other in serving through our own paradigms. All the lighthouses are not the same. Different oceans require different lights. Different lands require different heights of lighthouses. And without the lighthouse, all the boats tend to crash. And in addition, I'm hearing the purpose of the lighthouse is to be a beacon of light in times of storms and shadow and chaos. That is the purpose of the lighthouse. When we're in these times, people look to the lighthouse, not to the ocean or the storm to save them. They're looking for those presence of those light bearers. I just feel like when you're called to it. Like I know I cannot engage with things that would take away from this purpose that I know I'm supposed to be doing. And it's because my responsibility is my lighthouse. My responsibility is my energy. My accountability is radiating out, is in divine alignment for me, and is divinely guided for me to beam out in that light for those that connect with me. And it's the same for you. And I feel like you put it so beautifully because you illuminated the fact that it's scary to be your own lighthouse because there are people who are going to want to knock it down. There are people who are not going to get it. There are people who are going to say, no, follow me. My lighthouse is over here. Do you know what I mean? All those things exist. But if you're truly committed and accepting being your own lighthouse, you suddenly begin to recognize that that's what you were supposed to do the whole time. And that anything you do that is in alignment and right for you has to be right for anybody connected to you because it polarizes them. They either get upset, that's not the reality I want to create. I don't want you to do that. I want you to follow me. And it polarizes them, sending them the opposite way, breaking things down, things crumbling, people walking away, all that stuff. But there's also the fact that you're magnetizing those who are aligned. It's like both happen. You can't be a lighthouse without having a polarizing effect on some people. And you can't be a lighthouse without magnetizing those that are aligned with that light. So it's like both and all the more reason why the lighthouse has to be anchored and balanced in their peace, in their presence, have clarity about what's right for them. Because all the other people around you, some need you to be who you are. And everybody, correction, I'm being corrected. Everybody needs to be who they are, whether it's aligned with somebody else or not. That is the purpose of a lighthouse. They are not built on the base of the ocean. They're built on the rocks and the stone. And it takes time to build a lighthouse. They have to be able to weather storms. We've all been prepared. Do you feel like you've been prepared?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. When you were talking, I was seeing this image before you recognize within yourself that you are your own lighthouse. You might see people starting a little bonfire on the beach,
Mm,
and you think, oh, they have a fire. I wonder how they did that. And you sort of get tricked into follow their lights without realizing, but they have a bonfire, and you are an entire lighthouse.
yeah. And so it's interesting you say that because I feel like that speaks to detours. You're right. It's a great metaphor. I'm building my lighthouse over here on the rocks and there's a bonfire over there. I love it. And oh, let's go see over there. And the idea of being tricked, right? It feels that way. They're like divine detours. And yet, if you look at it, that bonfire, those people, what is perceived to be a trick was just a misperception, right? They literally showed you that you're the lighthouse through the experience of not being the lighthouse or thinking that somebody else's light had your light. But it was necessary. We gain and glean pearls from that. And I feel like that's a relevant conversation too there's many points in my life where I'm like, why did spirit send me there? Why was I so drawn to that light over there? That light wasn't for me. That wasn't aligned for me. That was never going to work. That person is not at all aligned with me, only to discover that all those things that weren't in alignment were all showing me the lighthouse that I was. It takes courage to stand as a lighthouse, because I feel like a lot of people who know their lighthouses, they tend to dim their light. Maybe I'll only shine my light that way because if I go this way, those people at the bonfire are trying to burn down my lighthouse. Those people are always going to be here. Nobody can burn down your lighthouse, because as a lighthouse, the light exists no matter what, and you can rebuild anything you want to. And that's the power of it. It's the power of being your own lighthouse. And it does feel like we get tricked by this person's bonfire. That's what it feels like. Or at the end of that phase of the journey, I feel like we come to this place of awe, of like, man, I went there. I felt like I was tricked. This person pulled me down that way. It gave me the discernment to walk away. It showed me different pieces and parts that I was going to need. It was preparing me to build the actual lighthouse so that when the storms came, they were not going to blow me down anymore, not emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually, or energetically. The amount of work on all planes, all aspects of who we are, that is required to truly build a lighthouse within, where you can generate your light and withstand all the storms that may come. The prep for that is enormous. Many life experiences required, many detours, many different places you go to, many different people you spend moments with that you think will be a long time, but end up only being a moment. But I do feel like they're all to build your lighthouse. They're all to ensure that your lighthouse is so strong that you can withstand being the lighthouse in the midst of the greatest storm in history.
Hmm.
Because that's what I feel like this is. We're not just having like a shift on the 3D world plane in terms of, the potentials of a great war, in terms of a lot of darkness being illuminated, in terms of separating countries on another level, in terms of economic collapse. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much here. Not only are we doing those things, we're having a spiritual evolution energetically, where our consciousness is expanding to the point where people are going to start recognizing that we're all one energetically and spiritually, and actually consciously sense it. That alone is freaking insane to go through that experience. But tack on all those external things with it. That shit can take somebody down real quick if they're not coming back to their peace and their presence. But there are those of us who have been being prepared for this moment in time so that our lighthouse can withstand and be a beacon during this time frame. It's a lot. We need lighthouses that are so anchored in their divinity and in their earthly body and the 3D earth plane. They cannot be separate. We've been in this merging process, the lighthouses, of ensuring that our light is divinely generated, coming down into us to radiate out. But we need our physical bodies and our vessel, and to be committed to creating heaven on earth. How do we create heaven on earth if we're discarding earth? The lighthouse has a structure that's earthly. It's in a form to house a light that's a spiritual radiating energy. So we need that structure in order to radiate out the light. And we need that light, the preparation of it, going through the processes spiritually, emotionally, relationally, in order to build the appropriate structure to house the light. When you think about the body and spirit, right? Like, we think that our spirit is in our body or our soul's in our body, but I've never seen it that way. I always saw it as, my spirit is huge, it's infinite. Like, when I talk about spirit, I'm talking about living and dead people. I'm talking about above and below. I'm talking about heaven and hell and earth. I'm talking about you, me. Everything is spirit, the plants. So it never made sense to me that our physical form held our spirits. There's nothing but spirit, and our spirit is what brings things into a physical form. So if our spirit is bringing things into a physical form, make no mistake to look back and see that we've been being prepared to create this lighthouse. Our spirit took us through journeys, detours, tricks, all kinds of different places in order for our spirit to build the lighthouse, the structure and the form, because we came here for spiritual advancement. And when we have spiritual advancement, we have physical changes and advancement. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it
I don't know if
really
that
is.
helps you about the whole bonfire and feeling like you've been tricked, but I feel like I experience that too. Totally. That's what it feels like at times, and sometimes it generally was a trick. But dang, girl, I just feel like I came here to build a damn lighthouse. I came here to do a specific mission and multiple side missions. Oh, I'm being interjected here with with the goddess and the gods. That whole aspect of like I came here on a mission. I also feel like people who build lighthouses have multiple side missions to be able to create each of the pieces of the sides of the structure of their lighthouse. And in addition, sometimes you went to the bonfire not because you were being tricked, but because you had a mission to implant a certain energy of your light into that bonfire and then to move along back to the lighthouse. So it's almost like there's these dynamics spiritually and interdimensionally that if we can open to them and begin to really truly see on that capacity, then we don't really feel tricked. We recognize there was 10 other things happening there that I couldn't perceive at the time, because if I had perceived it, I wouldn't have gone there and I wouldn't have gotten the peace. And do you know what I mean? They're all just steps to evolution and growth, but valuable ones, because it does feel like you're being tricked. It does feel like, when the hell did I go over there? And we're learning to trust ourselves. Can I build a lighthouse? Do I have enough confidence to stand and radiate my light in this lighthouse that I've been called to build, despite the fact that somebody else may not agree with me? Those are all things that go into building that structure. And in times of chaos, I feel like those who are lighthouses, like as you were saying, you're here to be that lighthouse and you're no longer scared of it, but you had to go through the processes to break down and alchemize that fear into power, into understanding truly what we're here to radiate our light for, not to accommodate somebody else or please somebody else, not even to agree or align with anybody else, but to literally radiate out the light that we are. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's so part of the journey.
And also, I think so many don't realize that they're building the lighthouse. You do the healing work, you go into the darkness, you look at your traumas, and piece by piece, you build higher and higher and higher. And all of a sudden, you're at the top, and the only thing that is missing is the light.
So the structure has been prepared now for the light to be fully embodied.
Mm,
Yeah, lighthouses are like a spiral staircase. And you're right. It's not a modular thing. Lighthouses are not modular, like one piece. They require multiple pieces. The frames, and then the slats going horizontally. We need the windows. We need the staircase to go up. We need the center point. And I'm also seeing too, based on what you were saying, the image, you get to the top and then you realize it's not that the light's not there, but now you have a structure to house the light, and it's time to turn that light on. The light is generated from within, and you can't generate the light from within if you do not work on the structure within. And we've all been being prepared for this. Like, some people are not here to be a lighthouse to millions of people. Being a lighthouse is not about that. Being a lighthouse is being self assured and divinely connected and rooted and grounded in your own presence. That's why I say, like, technically everybody's a lighthouse in some interdimensional way or on the highest timeline or vibration. But I just feel like we're all lights. We are birthed from the
yeah.
darkness. We know this deep in our soul. We're birthed from darkness. We already know we're lights. We already know what darkness is. The lighthouse is just the building of it within to be able to shine it out in an external, tangible, physical form. We need the earth plane to build the lighthouse, and we need your spirit to embody and shine the light. They are one. Higher self and lower self, you could look at it like that. They are one. We are merging the two. They are not separate. They are not, oh, I got to talk to my higher self over here. We're merging. We've already been merging into this phase of operating as one. I am my higher self and I am my earthly self. I am both vibrations, and I can tap into either one as I need to, because they're both flowing naturally all the time within me. It's a both and kind of a scenario, and that's what creates the balance. This is a really awesome conversation, Anna.
I really like it.
Me too. Me too, girl. I hope our viewers and listeners are enjoying this conversation. Let us know in the comments if you needed to hear this just as either a confirmation of, hitting bonfires where you feel like you're tricked, or maybe you're building your lighthouse, or maybe you're at the top and you're afraid to shine it out. Like, these are all facets and parts of the journey. And I feel like sometimes we get to the top of our lighthouse and we think, oh my gosh, I've built this. Am I really going to shine the light? Oh, they're saying go back to the shining your light over here to the right, but not to the left. Rather is usually somebody just getting used to their light and how it illuminates or reflects off people. Because when you shine light, it can trigger people because it's shining light, it's illuminating things. And some people aren't ready to have stuff illuminated. And other people, it's like, thank God you illuminated that. I feel free now. It just depends. But we don't want to just shine our light one way. We want to be able to openly shine it, regardless of how people react or respond, whether it's for one person and not for another. That's what I feel like some people who are lighthouses are doing right now in this process. They're getting used to the polarization and the the truth that some lighthouses are different, but they're not in competition. They complement each other because they serve
Mm,
different people.
it's really good, and I think all that are listening are all lighthouses.
Me too. I think that too. A goddess is a lighthouse unto herself, correct?
Mm,
And that's why I say, like, you're a goddess and this is your life. If we were to take the goddess within all of us as divine feminines, to embody the goddess is to allow the goddess to be embodied and anchored onto the earth plane. It's the same as the higher self, the goddess within. That's your divinity. That's you recognizing you have the power to create worlds. Your light matters. Nobody else's light matters, whether they think your light should be this or your light should be that, or you should go this way or you should go that way. No, the goddess anchors in recognizing her worth, her power, her divine essence in a physical form is sacred and to be honored and to be fully arisen, resurrected, and embodied. I feel like the lighthouse, some of us, we're the lighthouse of the goddess. You are all lighthouses of the goddess. And that takes courage. It takes courage to embody those things, even if it's just one aspect of the goddess, right? We all have multiple aspects, even just to embody one aspect of the goddess. And everybody embodies an aspect of the feminine goddess. Everybody does. That takes courage to be that, to walk that, to live that. And when we've learned what we can from it, like that layer of the lighthouse, the first tier, the first floor, we then move into the next layer or aspect of the goddess energy. And we build that second floor, that second tier. And once we've completed that, we then expand even further, deepening the goddess within us, allowing ourselves to embody another aspect. Then we create the third level and up and up and up. It is infinite.
and how powerful is it to have this calmness within yourself and to truly feel like the lighthouse in the middle of a dark storm, and you know who you are, you know your values,
Mm-hmm.
you know what is right for you, and you can execute that in a calm and collected way.
Ding, ding, ding. Bullseye in the room. When you're anchored in your own presence, it does not matter what storms arise. You're so anchored in knowing who you are that you know that you can walk through any storm, you can make any mistake, you can fall down, and because you know you're always going to rise. You know who you are. You know that you can weather any storm and get back up no matter what the storm is. You begin to have such a deep trust in the self that that's what makes you unshakable. It's because you know that no matter what, you have what it takes. You can go anywhere. You can go into the unknown as much as you want to. You can wait in the dark if you want to, because you already know you're the dang light in it. You know yourself that well that no life experience can take you down. And when you know that no life experiences can take you down, not only are you not afraid of the storms, but you're 10 times more willing to jump into the unknown and experience all the joy, all the amazingness, and create a new frontier, right? Create a whole new world. And that's what I feel like some of us are really doing. Not only are we holding a light in the shadow and the chaos and discovering really who we are, but it's empowering us to, oh, not only can I not only weather any storm that I need to, I have zero, zilch, zip fear in terms of going into any unknown to create anything, because it doesn't matter if I fall down, doesn't matter if I fail, doesn't matter if I make a mistake. I know who I am, and I know that anything can be corrected, and I'm only learning through the whole process. That changes the way you operate in life completely. Because most of us, most people on the earth plane, they're dealing with a lot of fear. The world dictates what they can and cannot do from outside of them versus them recognizing their power and the light within them, that this can be a playground where you get to explore and create anything you want to. And you don't got to worry because you know who you are, no matter who shows up outside of you. It's powerful. Just to kind of close out full circle the conversation. Now's the time when we're in chaos to come back to that practice. So, whenever I feel those things come up or people trying to get me to engage in certain things, and not because they want me to be a part of it, but because that's what they're in the flux of, the back and forth, I have to pull back, and I'll pull back. I'll reground myself. I'll start to meditate more. I'll put active conscious intention to anchoring in spiritual energy. I will actively begin to strengthen my energetic boundaries. I will actively seek out things that bring me peace, more so in times of chaos than in times where I'm just already flowing with the peace. And that strengthens us. And it helps me to be able to not be permeated and weighed down by the chaos, but also allows me to make decisions that are genuinely helpful to myself and to others, because I'm not in the tides and the waves, because I'm literally standing in my own energy and anchoring in my peace. And that's important. And it really is as simple as going out in nature, clearing your mind, detoxing your aura, removing thought forms of others, getting back into the body, journaling, meditation, sound healing, turning off social media and all those things for a couple of days, just to fine tune your compass to get back to you, because you're the center point. If you allow the external world to be your center point, you're always going to be off balance. That's another reason why those who are in balance are in that accountability and self-control actively within them. That's where the balance comes from, not from outside of you, from in you. Another important point I feel like that has a lot of validity right now.
Oh, I needed to hear that.
I as well needed to hear that, my friend. And sometimes we just need a reminder of that. Sometimes we just need to have somebody reflect that to us and say, yes, that's why I've been feeling the need to disconnect from things that are really chaotic. There's method to the madness, and our souls know. I truly, truly believe this in my bones. It's not even a belief I've been taught, it's a knowing. It's so deep in my bones. The soul knows when something is not right for you. The soul knows when it's nudging the logic to follow this path over here, even though the logic's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, no, it doesn't make sense, because the soul is asking you to follow it. The soul knows what it needs. The soul knows where it needs to go to fulfill itself. It's our logical mind and that external factor that's trying to tell the soul what it needs. And the soul is like piping up, bursting up, saying, I need this. I need this. And it's only afterwards we begin to discover, like, that's why my soul was taking me there. Oh my goodness. But if you don't follow the soul, we don't see that till way later. And then sometimes divine intervention is needed, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we go down that journey. I've had to call on divine intervention because I went too far one way. I've had to do that. And I've also had moments where I didn't need divine intervention. I just followed what my soul intuitive knowing was. And that is actually what saved me. even though it didn't make sense in the logical 3D aspect to other people. It's a good thing I followed my intuition, because it would have been really bad for me had I continued down some of those paths. So it's powerful to come back to that inner balance, to have it exist from within you and recognize that's the center point. That is where you find the balance. You cannot find it outside of you. However, we can utilize things in the external world to help us cultivate that inner balance, like nature, like sound healing, like meditation, having a guru or a mentor or a friend that can simply sit in a state of relaxation with you, or sit in a state to be able to receive and reflect. These are all aspects externally that we utilize to strengthen our counterbalance within us. But if you allow that outside of you to be what dictates your balance, you'll never find your balance, because that's where you're imbalanced. It's powerful when we share common struggles, and not because we're affirming the struggle, but because it allows us to have acceptance that we're not doing it wrong, and feel seen and understood by another in order to transcend the struggle. And I feel like that's really important right now. We're not here to affirm a struggle to continue the momentum of it. We want you to be seen in it, because the struggle is real, in order to transcend it. And I feel like that's super, super important.
Mm.
We are seen so that we may move beyond it, not so that we can continue that same experience. Fascinating.
So
Wow.
good.
It is so good. I love these conversations, and I love diving into this. And I love that they're deeply connected and rooted in everyday life experiences, both personally and interpersonally and collectively. But it also allows the spiritual essence and the guidance to really shine through. And I feel like that's really valuable. So thank you, beautiful goddesses, divine feminines, for joining this conversation with us, for listening in, for co-creating, all of us here together with the goddess herself, to really be a guiding light for all of us as we move through this great shift. As always, we're wishing you an amazing week, and be sure to like, share, subscribe, and share the podcast with any other divine feminines who you feel might need to hear this message as well.
We'll see you on the next episode.
True love.